Team Kilo, the judges are ready to hear your solution. You will have 20 minutes to present to the judges. You will be given a warning when 5 and 2 minutes remain. After 20 minutes, the presentation will be stopped immediately. No information will be considered after the time is left. Following the presentation, there will be a 10-minute question and answer. You will be given a warning when 2 minutes remain. No information will be considered after the 10 minutes are over. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We are Team Kilo. My name is Hetal Nirvani.
My name is Adam Kuntz.
I'm Nathan Steckel. Michael Braun.
And we are here to present the case about Edward Jones, who is the future client. Upon reviewing the case in detail, it was very clear that millennials and immigrant population are the two target markets, and especially immigrant population from Asian and Latin countries. And talking more about the millennials, born between 1980 to 1995, currently aged between 22 to 37. Approximately 83 million millennials in USA make up of that population. Millennials' investment potential, about 61% have no online investment exposure as of now. From remaining, only 33% have some sort of investments. So what are the millennials looking for? Why is there such a huge gap? We say the non-traditional way of investing to support their non-traditional way of living. Second population, immigrant population. Approximately 43 million immigrants make up that population in the United States. Let's assume of which 33% are married, 33% single adults, and 33% youth. Narrowing it down further, let's say 50% of married and 50% of single adult are your potential investment population. With the different ideas about investment depending on their culture and upbringing, they have different approach towards their life as well as investment. Talking about it in detail, looking at Hofstede's dimension of long-term orientation, uncertainty avoidance, and indulgence, they are your best option or maybe good potential investor market as of now. So what are the immigrants looking for when it comes to investment? We say secondary source of income, protecting their family financially, understanding the investment options available to them in the United States, and also developing a trustworthy relationship with their financial advisor. So how will we provide that to this crowd? Adam will take it forward from here.
So how do we tap into this upcoming investor generation? So the demographics of the United States have drastically shifted over the past 50 years. 82% of Americans and 70% of the international population now live in urban areas. Due to this, the traditional marketing strategy of Edward Jones of door-to-door is very hard to implement in large urban centers where people live in many different environments. We suggest an online new investor entry program to reach greater demographics in urban areas. Online entry programs create opportunities for non-traditional groups to become involved. Through a tiered entry program, new clients can be introduced to the world of investing on a smaller scale. We didn't want to sacrifice the principles of Edward Jones, such as the relationship building and the community outreach and the personalized attention, but the demographic is shifting, and especially millennials being more well-educated and independent are willing to take a more hands-on approach to the investment once they get involved. Using an online trading platform, both old and new clients can manage stocks, bonds, their mutual funds, and ETFs. But we did observe that more intensive accounts such as IRAs, Roth IRAs, and 401ks must still be claimed to the Edward Jones financial advisor. A little bit more in depth about how the tiered system works is we decided to go with the current financial trend of subscription-based services. So throughout every tier, there's a $5 per month subscription fee. And we started off as, on the bottom tiers, you get free transactions and then per month. And then after you use your 15 and the second level 10, you have $5 per transaction afterwards. up towards the top in the third layer after you eventually get no free transactions and you have per transaction $5. And then eventually to transfer them into the existing Edward Jones system, they start paying half of the commission of a standard transaction. So why would potential investors use this program? As a transition program, it still provides the same service and that in the traditional Edward Jones program, but it definitely provides ease of access and it breaks down the barriers potentially that these two demographics face. Millennials being unsure whether their current financials are strong enough to invest, and immigrants potentially the lack of information that they might have about American investment and potential language barriers. Also, by eliminating the minimum investment requirements, you can reach a much larger demographic by letting potential customers start investing in smaller amounts. And also by streamlining the fee process, new clients don't have to worry about which fees they have to pay and understanding the system when it's a more streamlined process into how to transfer into Edward Jones. And both immigrants and millennials definitely have a future appeal to invest, to either keep up their lifestyle or provide for their family, as previously said. And through all of these reasons, plus the relationship they would build with the advisor, they would build a trust in the company that would eventually lead to greater retainment in both demographics.
Okay, so I'm going to cover the financial justification for this program. So on this chart, we've charted out the revenues for the program based on kind of the 4 different tiers. As you see, we have 4 different lines here, and they represent 1%, 2%, 5%, and 8% of our target population. So what we're saying with this is in year 1, we developed that target population from 61% of millennials don't have an online trading platform, and we calculated, about that 16.5% of an immigrant population is who we think is outside the millennial group, and that would be worth targeting for this investment program. So all in all, that comes out to about a total of 59 million potential clients within the U.S. that you can target with this program. So if in year 1, we get 1% of that population, that's 500,000 roughly new accounts that are added to Edward Jones that are starting. So those 500,000 new accounts, they pay the subscription fee, and based on maybe a very, very small percentage going over that transaction limit, we come out to about $35.5 million in revenue in year 1 if it's 1%. As it progresses through, we have year 2, year 5, this is at the end of tier 4, so it's the year 5's revenue, and year 7. And what we did is we had that initial 1%, but what we found through research is about 2% growth is what online platforms can expect naturally through no additional cost. So based on about 4 years of previous information, it's about 2% growth every year. So this growth, the growth in the population using the program was based on that 2% natural growth without any additional marketing used to come to these revenue figures. So the cost for the online platform, we're taking a conservative approach and estimating that it's going to be approximately $250 million to develop this online trading platform. So this cost can cover any type of consulting, but we think it could potentially be lower considering Edward Jones already has an online system for their current clients to access statements and view account activity, and that the financial advisors are also conducting the trades through the internet. So it's almost just adding this trading function to this platform that already exists for clients to access and view their statements online. We're doing a $20 million one-time marketing blitz campaign. That is to get that initial 500,000 people if we're trying to get that 1%. So that 20 million is that 500,000. And then an $8 million recurring cost. We also think it might seem low as a recurring cost every year, but considering Edward Jones has the infrastructure in place, we feel like we're not adding maybe a whole lot of extra expense as you already have a robust IT department, and we're just adding a kind of a function to a platform that already exists. So with these costs and based on the 1% initial population with that 2% natural growth year over year, we have a payback period of about 8 years, and the return on investment in that period is 14%. So now to talk about implementation and marketing, I'm going to pass it to Michael.
So we've mentioned what we think is the optimal solution, but what's also important is how we're going to implement it. So to do this, we have a couple of different thoughts that we would like to propose. So one of the first things is that we believe it's going to be important for Edward Jones to implement some sort of diversity training to prepare their current financial advisors for the changing clientele of the future. So this is going to take into account different immigrant groups, millennials, and just different groups overall that they're trying to reach out to. So perhaps an example of this diversity training could be role playing. And by doing this, it's going to make the financial advisors more comfortable when this diversity is actually introduced and they're actually dealing with these situations. And another possibility is to do more community outreach. In a couple of ways we thought about this. One would be to go into schools, both high schools and colleges, and to start reaching that younger demographic. And this is really going to help pull both in those students as well as perhaps their families. This is going to get people who are investing for the first time into something new, and it's going to provide them with the education that they need to be able to do it. And along with the immigrant groups and finance education, we believe that Edward Jones could go to different ethnic festivals and different community events put on by different immigrant groups to be able to be there and to have a presence and to make people aware of what we have to offer and of this new program that we're proposing. So with the marketing plan, one of the main things that we felt was needed to be addressed was changing the image of an investor. A recent poll published in CNBC found that 60% of the female millennials that were polled believed that the average investor is a wealthy older male. So we need to be able to change this perception among the investors, but we also believe that our program is going to help Edward Jones rethink what the investor is. And the way that we believe this is going to happen is through the online platform. Edward Jones is going to be able to bring in new clients, and each time this client makes a purchase, they're going to be able to bring in different data analytics and to be able to see trends, to see what people like to do. And this is going to help to make a more personalized experience for both them and to help project into the future what they believe could be the future demographics. So another key part of the marketing plan is that authenticity is going to be a necessity for the millennial group and for the immigrant population. Especially among millennials, people want people to be authentic. It's not enough just to have the cold hard facts. We want to know how this is going to relate to us and how this is relevant to our lives. So one proposal that we have for this is for Edward Jones to sponsor people to do blogs for their website. They could talk about their investment experiences and how Edward Jones has affected them. And this will help people to relate and for people to think, wow, that's something I could do. Another option is to use social media influencers. Influencers help to promote a product and to get people to really think about it. This could be people with large social media presences. This could be different websites, and it could also be done regionally if there's a specific influencer who's really popular in St. Louis. Edward Jones could perhaps reach out to that person and try to have them use the product and share their experience. And finally, we have social media. Social media is something that's always changing, so it's going to be difficult to stay on top of it. What's popular today may not necessarily be the hot social media 5 years from now. So we think it's going to be important for Edward Jones to have somebody in a position where this is what they do and to stay on top of those trends to figure out the best way to reach their different target audiences. Another kind of alternative method of marketing we propose is to use public transportation, because one of the big trends we're seeing is that millennials and other groups, immigrant populations alike, are moving away from using only their own vehicles. They're using public transportation like buses and subways and taxis. And we believe that if we're able to use advertising through those mediums, we're going to be able to reach people in more places than we currently can. And finally, we think it's important for the advertising to be present, but it's also important that it's not overwhelming. Millennials and these other groups want to be reached, but they don't want to feel like there's a large burden of people specifically targeting them. So it's important to be present, but not overbearing or overwhelming. Finally, we also came up with some different alternative solutions. One of the first ones we thought of was to use a solely marketing-based approach. We believed that this would create awareness for what we're offering. However, we felt that it wasn't going to lower the barrier to entry that people are looking to lower. By only doing marketing, it isn't going to make it easier for people to become an investor. It's just going to let them know that it's a possibility. Another option was to go with a strictly online trading platform. However, the big issue we saw with this is that it was going to take away from a lot of Edward Jones's core values. It's going to take away this person-to-person interaction, and it isn't going to allow for the client-advisor relationship to really develop and flourish as it currently is able to do. And our final alternative solution that we came up with was to use a different pricing system for our tier system that we used. Initially, we were thinking that you could possibly go with a higher subscription price, but then have no transaction fees. However, the issue we found with this was that it's, again, not going to lower the barrier for customers because it's still going to keep the price high. And we want to offer a low price, but still a high value. And that's why we felt that our selected option was the best amongst these.
So in summary, we developed online trading platform for the new generation and immigrant population, new investor entry program, catering especially to this targeted market will make it easy for them to become an investor in this country. And we have tried through this process to identify, attract, engage, serve and retain the next generation. And now the floor is open for any question you may have.
So just to clarify, on the online piece, so is this with advice? So in other words, can you only get to this through a financial advisor, or can you also just do it on your own?
So what we imagined is that you can do it on your own, and you're still getting that advice. But so when you start though, we have we're like putting a $50,000 cap, so like really large amounts of money can't come in and just take advantage of the advice without paying that commission structure that's currently in place with the financial advisors. So this is more to get just the individual investors to come in. They're not setting up, like we said, the 529 plans, the IRAs, the 401ks still have to be set up through the advisor. This is more just like an individual trading account to help people realize that, with this low entry, that they can trade, and then we're going to build that relationship between the financial advisor. And we kind of touched on like the data analytics. Kind of that first year, maybe they don't have an advisor. Maybe Edward Jones is just collecting the data on them, so that when they have a little more wealth and they're feeling more comfortable to maybe branch out to other plans, we already kind of have this profile of them, and that we can really tailor the solution towards them and build that trust and relationship with them.
So in other words, we would highly recommend them to consult with an advisor, but we would not force it on them. It's their choice. We leave it up to them.
So I guess I'm curious about what was your consideration about how our financial advisors, 15,000 financial advisors, and their goal is to establish long-term, serious relationships with individual clients all across the country through service, face-to-face. How are they going to feel about a model that just basically is competing against them on price?
While that is like the standard of the financial advisors, the demographic is changing, and especially because 90% of all millennials are on some sort of media, like social media, and on average millennials spend 18 hours of media a day. So while they do value that, establishing the connection and building a relationship, some of these demographics are sometimes bound by the barriers of maybe a language barrier, or they're just unsure what it is. And with millennials, it's the interest and they want to rather do it on their own through online sources. there is still that building of the relationship once they once they enter the program and they start trading and they start developing themselves. Once they contact their advisor, they can rely on them for advice, and once they actually go through the transition program, is that their wealth is built, they actually become a Edward Jones client and back into the traditional program.
I mean, it competes on price on like that first 7 years is what we're calling this transition, this entry program. But after that, it's no longer competing on price because it's full commission. It's everything as if I called up the Edward Jones advisor and they placed the trade. If you do it online, you're getting charged the exact same. So what our thought process was is right now, somebody who might only have $1,000 to invest, we're not getting them into Edward Jones because they're saying it's not worth, I can only maybe buy a stock or, you know, two or a mutual fund or something, but the transaction fee and the commission is just going to eat too much into that. So we're trying to target
But
them.
maybe that's not our client then.
I mean, we're trying to, right, I mean, I think we're trying to widen the client base so that they might start like a 22-year-old might, maybe they graduate college and they have a little bit, and it's to get them started with Edward Jones, to build that relationship, let their wealth grow at a kind of lower cost for the 7 years, and then slowly transition them. So when they come out and they're paying that full kind of fee structure that Edward Jones currently has, they've developed this relationship. They see the value that Edward Jones is, providing them, and so if they need tax advice or they want that Roth IRA, they're going to have to go through that advisor from the start, but they've already felt like they've maybe developed this relationship, so we think we're better able to bring them in.
You mentioned a research study about the different cultural values of investors that were Asian or Hispanic, but then you didn't go anywhere with it. I was just wondering if there was any learning about like high wealth Hispanic, high wealth Asian, or their different values that come forward, which I thought you might go in that direction, and I didn't hear anything.
Sure, I would love to fill you up on that. So that study is based on Hofstede's dimension of comparing the different countries around the globe.
Yeah.
Looking at a very larger picture, Western versus Asian country or Latin countries, they are the people who believe in long-term planning, who believe in saving for the future. They are not very high on indulgence on day-to-day basis. So they are the people who would think about maybe saving for their kids' school rather than buying a vehicle for themselves. So when you know certain key differences about where their investment value lies or where their personal interest is, you can talk to them on those bases that we see you have just started a family. I'm sure you're thinking about your kids' education already. We have such and such options if you're interested. So kind of knowing them, where their values and culture lies, how they were brought up in their own country, if they're living here now, they definitely have different ideas of living. So basically understanding that gap and using it to your advantage.
I also think that when the target group of the immigrant population and the growing different minorities and demographics in the United States, if you would wait till they became financially stable, then they would already have potentially looked at other clients. So this is or other investment opportunities. So by getting them early and introducing them through the investment, it's the same as the millennials. It builds the trust in the immigrant community that that Edward Jones helps you establish yourself when you get here. Not when you get here and you become well established, then they help you, but it helps them.
And you're talking about training the current advisors to deal with the population. You're not really talking about changing the advisors themselves.
Yeah.
You've had a financial justification, ETOP factory with 14% ROI. Given the duration for the return, the potential risk over a longer lifetime for return, is that ROI a justified investment? And why does it take $250 million to develop the
Yeah, so the $250 million, like I said, is very conservative, and we think it would be lower, but we didn't want to come in and price it too low. So kind of how we got there was based off of the recent Scottrade acquisition from TD Ameritrade. We tried to figure out maybe how much they were paying for since Scottrade's just an online trader really, and not providing that advice as much. We wanted to try to figure out how much were they just paying for that system. It was about a $4 million acquisition. So bringing it out of that, I mean, it's very, I would say, not perfect, but it was a number that we felt comfortable with. It's definitely longer, but I think for the investment and to gain that money back, but you're reaching a much, much larger audience, bringing them in at a much, much younger. And I think once you brought them in, they would be less likely to maybe just flee Edward Jones. So that's kind of, I mean, we think it's justified, and we also, I mean, we could have increased the subscription, we could have increased the transaction fee, started charging, maybe we only do 5 years, but we just didn't see that as a way to allow them to grow their wealth. In just 5 years, there wasn't enough time, if they're coming in with a small amount of money, to really grow their wealth and get to know Edward Jones and feel like there's value there. So we wanted to give them that opportunity, and so we drug that. That's why we made it 7 years, and then we priced it accordingly.
So you discussed providing diversity training to our financial advisors, and then you mentioned role playing. Can you go into that a little bit more about what ideally you're thinking about?
Yeah, so one of the things we were kind of thinking of in regards to role playing was to put the financial advisors in different situations that are going to prepare them for this different diverse group that's coming in. So, like Ethel mentioned, with the Hofstede's dimensions, people from different cultures and different groups are going to come in with different perceptions and different ways of thinking. So, by coming in and role playing and putting people in these situations before they get there in real life, it's going to make them more comfortable, we felt, once they're actually in that situation, and so they know how to deal with it before they get there.
It also helps with the shifting demographics of cities, especially because that's where everyone's going. City neighborhoods that were historically one demographic, maybe minority, are coming in, like constantly shifting, and 10 years from now, your neighborhood could look entirely different. So the financial advisor isn't going to leave and go places where they just know, but they stay in the neighborhood because they've established a relationship with the neighborhood. So it's understanding before the diversity comes in, and you're well equipped for whatever demographic your neighborhood would change to.
Also, to adding to that, many times one finger that is considered a compliment in one certain.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.